Well, it's that time of year again. Here's my 2024 holiday gift guide for photographers. Well, hey everyone, it's Hudson, and welcome to the 2024 holiday gift guide. I'm going to be sharing a number of items, mostly priced from sort of low stocking stuffery kind of items up to more expensive gear that I think any photographer in your life, including maybe you, might love. So we'll go through them all. Don't worry about taking any notes. I've got a link in this video's full description, or you can just click right here, and this will all be at the top in a special section, all linked from my ATS links page, hudsonhenry.com/ATS links. If you go in there, right at the top of the links, there'll be a whole section with all of these things, and those links help me out, so I appreciate it. So my kids have been just running around super excited, making lists, having me spell check and punctuation check them. And I figured that must mean it's time to kind of drill down. I talked to Rick LePage, and we put together this bunch of stuff that we thought any photographer would probably enjoy. And I'm going to grab my little cheat sheet so I don't give you any wrong prices and that sort of thing, and just kind of make sure I hit each and everything. I always like to start out with photo books. And I think the reason for that is that they hold more of a key, potentially, to advancing your photographic skill and your creative vision-telling talent than a lot of the gear that people chase. You know, looking at what other photographers have done. And this year, you know, I always talk to Rick about what books would be good to share with photographers out there. And the two of us kind of drilled down to three that we both love, and they share something in common. They're from different periods of history, and they tell some history. There's a contemporary, amazing book by a woman who's fantastic, I'm sure many of you know of, Christina Mittermeier. There's a book by Dorothea Lange, who we all know from her Depression-era portraits of marginalized people. And there's a book by Gordon Parks, who was a fantastic photographer for most of the 20th century, and let me talk about each of these books. So the Dorothea Lange book, first, just because it's the smallest of them, is all sort of a history of her seeing people. There are some marvelous essays and behind-the-scenes stories about some of the iconic photos that she took, and just lots and lots of beautiful prints of her images, and essays about the work that she did. And I think that as you look through this, you'll see the power of looking back in time and not seeing what we're so used to seeing in historic photos, which is, you know, the famous, the great, the wealthy. These are more the average people during those times, marginalized people, people that are struggling. And I just look back and I see a portrait of America in another time, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful book. It's fantastic. She was a talented photographer, and so that's a real winner. That book is kind of a bargain, I think, at $35 for the quality of the photos and the paper in it. The Gordon Parks book is called Segregation Story. It's the latest version of that. He did a lot of work in the pre-civil rights movement era, and these images just take you back in time and have you remember a piece of history. And again, everyday life, common people, another time, and, you know, makes you think back through history, and also just a look at what a fantastic photographer he was, and how prolific, and how he was constantly working, and the power of the images that you can create to tell a story about what's happening in your time, and the power of this to just shape someone's emotion looking through it. This is a fantastic book. And that book, I've got a link to, is $40. And then there's the most expensive, biggest book, which is Christina Mittermeier's Amaze. When Rick first brought this book over and I looked through it, I was truly amazed at the breadth of the work. And then I slowed down and kind of digested it carefully. And I realized she has some influences from Sebastião Salgado, who I love so much. I see a progression of his style in much of this work and some of the things that fascinated him. She's a contemporary photographer, and she's incredibly talented. She's working with modern equipment to its full potential, and she's photographing some of the last wild places on Earth and some of the people who live more connected to those wild places. And in collecting these images together, is advocating that we all pay attention to that. And it's a spectacular book. She's so talented. I think anyone could look through here and really learn quite a bit about photography and the world. So those are 3 really inspirational books where I think you could look through and learn from what the photographer was seeing. Her book is $61, which is not outrageous for as beautiful a large format photo book that's so spectacularly printed as this one. And some of her nature photos and underwater photography are just incredible. All right, so keeping to the kind of lower end of the spectrum, I've got some fun stuff from Lowepro and Manfrotto when it comes to just gear, bags, ways to organize your stuff, which is a constant challenge, right, for those of us that are photographers. One thing that I love is this little Lowepro. They've got a whole series called Gear Up, and all the Lowepro stuff I'm showing you is from their Gear Up series. You know, and I love, NYA EVO is my pack company and my camera insert company, but Lowepro makes really nice stuff and accessories and organizing things and a plethora of them, and I think this Gear Up series is really cool. And I actually have this little thing called a wrap. It's the Gear Up wrap here inside another bag I'm about to show you, and I keep all of my detailed camera equipment cleaning gear in this. Whenever you're out on a workshop with me and you complain there's a dirty sensor, or I see dirty sensors in the image reviews that we do daily during workshops, this thing comes out and we get to work blowing off and cleaning your sensor. And so this is sort of a little wrap that keeps all that kit nice and tight for me inside this other bag that we'll talk about in a second. There are 3 other items. There's this medium-sized pouch. They just call it the Gear Up pouch. And I like to keep tools in here. It has this little removable board that you've got slots to keep your tools organized, slip them in, slip them out, not have them floating all over the place. And then I just keep assorted sundries in here, microfiber claws and Allen wrenches and tools. This is my little tool bag. So I like to have that out with me on the road, and it fits nicely in your pack if you want. Speaking of fitting nicely in the pack, I really like this Manfrotto Street Tech organizer. I'll have all these things linked. You saw that I have my wrap inside there. This is really my little camera cleaning kit bag. And I have a big microfiber cloth. I have even more sensor swipes because I do so many sensor cleanings for people out in the field. And I have this tool in here that has kept me from doing as many sensor cleanings as I used to, which is the VSGO blower. And I've talked about this before. It's not a cheap tool. It's $120. Everything else we've been talking about here is in the under $50 range. But if you press this guy and turn it on, it's got a light and it's got a power mode. The light I don't find as useful, but it puts out an insane burst of air that's designed through this fitting that goes on the end to be just about right for a APS-C or full frame sensor. And I hold my camera upside down and blow the sensor off with this really, really regularly. It has a nice little filter that fits in the back to keep the air coming through it from getting any debris in it. And it just is amazing. Since Rick and I have had these, and some of the other workshop participants that are regulars have had these, we're finding that we don't have to do wet sensor cleanings nearly as often because it's so efficient at blowing out dust. I almost never use my my old-fashioned rocket blower these days. I just use the VSGO blower. And it seemed like a lot when I first heard about this blower, and then you use it for a while and you say, well, maybe that's not overpriced at all, actually. So the last thing when it comes to these little cases, carrying cases and things, are these little, they're called creator boxes from Manfrotto. And I think they're handy for when you're bringing a small kit along with you in some other non-photo backpack. They're like a miniature removable camera insert. And they're perfect for a couple of different situations. They give you a top reach in and grab, like right here I have a Lieca Q3 that I can just reach in and grab or put back in place. And I could hang this from a shoulder strap. I got my NYA EVO the shoulder strap that they make, which is so really nice. I have these in my store with the NYA EVO stuff, these aluminum clips and everything. You could just clip it right onto here and carry this on your side like a shoulder bag and be reaching into it to grab your camera gear. It's got a nice little zippered pocket. I've got my business card in there, you can see through it. But if you pop this little quick door, you can zip it open, and in here I've got room for my little Kase 49mm filters, which we're about to talk about in a second. Cleaning cloth, other stuff, it gives you access, memory card pocket, all that kind of stuff. This is the small creator box, and it's only $25. And if I'm carrying a book bag and I want to throw the Leica and filters into it, boom, this can go in. Or it can hang on my side from a shoulder strap. It's really, really handy. And they make this in varying sizes. I think the small is really nice for the Leica crowd. I think that this is the medium. And again, it has that same system where you can just leave this thing clipped, and then you can't zip past it to open the front and have anything fall out. And what I've got in here right now is my Z50 with a 50-250 lens on it. I could fit the ZF with the 70, the 24-120 on it in there. It'd be tighter, but the 50-250 on the ZF fits in there perfectly, or the Z50. And the Z52 will as well, which my Z52 shipped today. I'm excited. I'll be talking about that soon. And this slightly larger one, this Creator Large box, which is $46, when you open it up, it has a little more storage space. Still get that nice clear pocket. There's a couple of pockets in here for like a notebook and a pen. There's a memory card wallet. And then there is room to put other lenses in. So for my Z52, I've got the little Voigtlander 23mm 1.2 manual focus DX lens that I love so much. I've got the second kit lens, the 16-50, and still room for filters or cleaning cloths or whatever else I might want in there. You just load it in, organize it, zip it up and shut, clip it to keep yourself from accidentally opening and having a lens fall out when you're grabbing a camera off the top. Again, it's got that shoulder strap connection point. It's really, these are handy, Throw these in a book bag. Throw these in your backpack when you're going out backpacking. You can even hang it on your chest if you wanted quick access to your camera, and it makes a really nice little case. So those are very cool. We just talked about the fact I pulled these 49mm filters out of that bag. These are Kase Revolution 49mm filters, and those are great on the Lieca Q cameras. So I've started carrying them. I resisted for a while, and enough people have asked me. I asked for a set of these. They sent them to me. This is the Mega Kit. So this has a 3.610 stop neutral density filter, a polarizer, a UV filter, and a cap. Actually, the UV filter is on my Q3 right now. And the UV filter with the external threaded adapter fits under the hood on the Q3, no problem. You can split off the hood, switch filters, and I'm finding that the 49mm filters create no vignetting with the built-in lens corrections, up to 2 filters stacked, and a tiny bit of vignetting when you put 3 filters stacked together. So it'd be easy to get up to 16 stops of neutral density or a polarizer and a neutral density filter. Pretty darned amazing. They come, unfortunately, in this really big 82mm sized case from Kase. So I've talked to Kase about it. They're going to prototype a new smaller filter case. It'll fit 58mm and smaller. But in the meantime, I found this really cute little case on Amazon for $10, and I find it works pretty darn well. It holds 2 filters per pocket because these Kase Revolution magnetic filters are so small and light, and doesn't take up much space in the bag. So in the meantime, under $10 on Amazon in stock, this little case works great. At the same time in my store, and those filters are all in my store, and newsflash, today, starting today, that this video launches on November 21st through December 2nd on 2024, all of the Kase Mega Kits, the filter kits that have the UV filter, a case, threaded adapter rings, the 3, 6, and 10 stop neutral density filters, circular polarizer, and night filter, those Mega Kits that have it all, those are all 20% off for this limited period of time. It's like a Cyber Week sale that Kase is letting us run. So those will be 20% off in my store as you watch this video, and they will cease being 20% off on December 2nd. So you can link right here to go up and see those kits, but it's a sweet deal. That includes I carry the 49mm filters specifically for those shooting Leica or other small cameras like the Fuji X100 series. I carry the 82mm filters, which I think is the smallest size you should use for full frame and APS-C cameras, because if you use an ultra wide angle lens for those cameras that's 77mm or 8, it tends to vignette. I just think that's adapting up. You're eventually gonna have a lens that's 82mm and you're gonna wish you had an 82mm filter kit. And I carry 95mm filters specifically for the Nikon crowd with the 14 to 30 ultra wide angle lens, because people find that with its native 82mm filter thread, it vignettes really, really quickly, even with a single filter. So going to 95 saves you from that. And then those filters also fit other lenses like the 180 to 600mm lens. And then 112mm filters for those who have the 2.8 zooms. They fit right into the 14 to 24 2.8s hood that's included with it, the HB97, and then that hood fits all the 2.8 zooms for the Z system. So all those kits, the mega kits, are 20% off. I'm also starting to carry, these are handy, little MCUV III, the third version from Kase, these protective front element threaded filters. So those are in the store as well. You'll find them under the Kase section. And I'm carrying those from 49mm to 95mm. I would argue if you're going to use that to protect your front element when you're not using creative filters, pull it off. And when you're going to use a creative filter, it is a second lens cap that keeps that front element pristine. But if you're going to get on the tripod for a landscape and shoot, say, a sunstar in high contrast with the sun in the scene, any dirt on the UV filter is going to magnify ghosting and flare and cause problems in the image. So when you pull the UV filter off, you'll have a perfect front element. If you're going to be using a polarizer or a neutral density filter or a night filter, pull the UV off before you put that filter on. It's getting dirty, it's getting fingerprints, it's getting dust from being on the lens. Now you've got a clean front element, and that new filter in front of your lens is protecting it. So there you go. But for those who want to always keep a threaded filter in front of their lens, they're in the store, and these MCUV IIIs are super durable, super dust and scratch resistant, easy to clean, water doesn't mark them. They're pretty amazing. Moving on. All right, Samsung T7 hard drives. You know, I can't advocate using these fast little SSDs in your photo editing and storage process. They're getting cheaper and cheaper, and right now they're 40% off. If you've got a good, fast, modern computer with Thunderbolt 3 or above, or USB-C, you know, USB 3.2B, the 20 or 40 gigabyte bit per second transfer speed. These drives will net you 800 megabytes per second really easily on Mac or PC. They're fast. They're about 8 times faster than the fastest old spinning hard drives that were out there. And putting your data on this, putting your backup on this, putting your Lightroom catalog for Lightroom Classic on this is going to speed up your whole workflow. These things are on a sweet sale right now. As I said, they're 40% off. I've got links to them. They're $170 for 2 terabytes, which is what I use for my Lightroom catalog. They're $286 for 4 terabytes, which is kind of unheard of cheap, and I use those for data storage and backup. When you're going to use them, they come with very fast, very fast USB cables that are capable of supporting their full speed. But when you're using cables, you have to be really careful that you're using truly, truly fast cables. So I've got a link to a good deal, and again, it's on sale. It's 26% off for fast Anchor, 40 gigabit per second, 140 watt power delivery capable USB-C cords. You know, using a low quality USB-C cord can throttle the throughput. You could have a fast computer with a fast drive and you use the wrong cord, and you can be getting 1/4 of the speed or 1/8 of the speed that you're capable of using a faster cord. So I've got a link to much faster cables in a couple of different sizes, and they're both on sale. Speaking of getting data, whether it's your Lightroom catalog or your photos or your backup into a computer, so many of our computers these days, especially laptops on the road, have a limited number of ports. And I did a video this year, and I helped with the Kickstarter launch of this product, which is now out in the wild. and I use it all the time on the road, and I particularly recommend it for those of you with computers with a real limited number of ports, say 1 Thunderbolt port or 2 Thunderbolt ports or 2 fast USB 3 or 4 ports. This one will plug into your computer via USB-C. You can plug power delivery right through it, and I think pass 100 watts of power delivery through it into the computer, so you can be charging your laptop through this. And then it's got every kind of card reader you could imagine. CF Express A, CF Express B. Won't read XQD. XQD is kind of lost in the past. It's a dead format moving forward, so nobody's really designing things for it. But CF Express A, CF Express B, SD, and micro SD. It's got HDMI out. It's got power delivery to the computer. It's got very fast USB-C out, and it's got a very fast USB-A port. So you can hook a whole bunch of stuff into this and pass it right through to your computer and be moving memory off of your camera fast through it into the computer too. It's really, really cool. If you want to see the video about it, you can click right here. I know dozens of people bought these, and I don't know anybody who's disappointed with them. Rick and I both love them. All right, so now we move into the really fun stuff, a little bit more expensive stuff for the most part, but really, really cool. People have been waiting a long time for the launch of the NYA EVO 50C. You could get them for a long time through their international store, but they finally have, caught up, and they've gotten me a number of them. I don't have an unlimited quantity, but I have a whole bunch of NYA EVO 50Cs. They're a fantastic backpack. I'm not going to go through all the features here, but there's a video. You can click right here or in this video's full description for the review I did of this about a year ago. I love this bag. I've been carrying it a ton. I call it the Goldilocks of NYA EVO's bags. The big 60C with the integrated separate dry bag on top is wonderful. It's also airline compliant, carry-on compliant, but this bag is just the right size in so many scenarios. And I love it has this zipper access into the main compartment. It's completely separated. It's the camera compartment access from the back, from the main compartment, NYA EVO style. It has amazing, amazing pockets and organization up front that I just love. Hydration bladder capability, laptop capability. And if obviously it'll take all the different removable camera inserts that NYA EVO produces, except for the extra large, which we'll talk about in a second here. That extra large is only for the 60C. But if you open it up on its main compartment inside, there's access from this side pocket or the main pocket. And right now I got access to the top, and I've done something kind of cool with another new thing from NYA EVO, which is their extra small removable camera insert. So I have a medium camera insert on the inside with my whole Z9 kit, and then I've got my ZF with the 51.0, and I've got the Q3 right here in the top access. And the way that works is just super cool. If you look through this, I've got my strap, my ZF with the 51.0, my Q3 all in the top compartment that's easily accessed that way. And in the back panel, I've got my Z9. Let me show you here. I've got my Z9. I've got my 100 to 400. I have my 14 to 24 S lens. I have my 24 to 120, which I'm going to take out and talk about here in a second. I've got my 20 1.8 in case I'm doing night work. I could switch any of those lenses out. I've got a full set of Kase 82mm filters right there, all in this medium RCI with the extra small RCI over the top kept separate, all right? So, and I'll talk a little bit about how this medium RCI is kitted out too, because it's a little bit different. But this extra small RCI in the top can just pull out like this. And this is a really cool new RCI. Rick saw this when we were working on a project last week and just loves it. It zips shut sort of donkey bag style, and then you can put your shoulder strap on it and carry it sort of donkey bag-like. You can stretch that strap out and just sling it with your gear out in the field. Or it can fit in the bag this way above the medium RCI, so that it's very, very modular. You can stack it on a small RCI or a medium RCI with access from the back panel or down from above with its top opened or closed. It's just a really, really cool little kit. And as you can see, I've got my ZF with the 51.0 in there. I've got the Q3 in there. Just a really handy little RCI. All right, we'll stack that over here. And I have those in my store on the NYA EVO section. You can click here to go to the NYA EVO section of my store. Inside this medium RCI, I've got something kind of new. This is their Grumbler. NYA EVO launched a new company called Grumbler. And it's these custom configurable camera insert pieces that are really, really well made. They're essentially felt with a rubberized center. They're thinner than a traditional camera insert, but they're a little bit more rigid, and you cut them to fit. And you can kit out whatever you're working with. Say you have a Pelican case you want to reconfigure, or an older f-stop bag, or a Shimoda bag. And I just think that the way that these pad your gear without taking up much space is really nice. And they come in a whole slew of colors. They're on Kickstarter right now, and it's only for about another 48 hours. So I think traditionally they're gonna be about $20 per piece. There's detailed instructions on the Kickstarter site about how they work, but they look kind of like this. To kit out that medium RCI, which I feel like I can fit a little bit more gear in than I could with the traditional RCI 3, I used two of these. I used a red one and a blue one. And all I had left at the end was this one little piece of blue that I could use to do one more lens insert. It's really, really cool material. It is super padded. It's a cool product. So there's a couple more days. If you want to check out their Kickstarter, they're already funded. They've made their goal. These things are going to go into production. The people that have pledged money will be getting their stuff. And they have a whole slew of cool colors. That's one thing NYA EVO always does, is great colors on all their products. So color is very important to them. And these come in like 9 different interesting colors, keyed to all kinds of different tastes. So I think they're pretty cool. I found it was really easy to fit that medium RCI out with it. And I got to say, it's a little bit of an upgrade off of a traditional Velcroed in padded camera bag insert. It's definitely a little bit nicer. And again, you can cut it to fit anything you want to use. It's a little bit more for the DIY person because you have to measure, mark, cut, and then once it's cut, it's cut. But it does give you that ability to customize whatever you're after. All right, so I promised I would take this 24-120 out and talk about it for a second. I think there are a lot of people out there who haven't used this lens and may think of it as more of a kit lens because it's f4. But for those of you who are Nikon shooters, and I know there's a big group of them in this audience, this lens has been used more than any other lens by me since it came out. You know, as I look back through my data in Lightroom Classic, I've probably shot well over 1/3 of the images I shot in the last year with this particular lens. And so many of my favorite keepers are with this lens. And as I look at it, it's got little bits of mud ground into it, and yet it's holding up beautifully. I have the old version of Kase's MCUV, the MCUV II on here. The front element looks great. It throws a beautiful Sunstar. It is really sharp, wide open, clear up into the corners. You know, you get some diffraction as you stop it way down, but I feel like it's a lens that's at its sharpest at 5.6 and right around in there. And f4 is razor sharp still, and f11 is very sharp. It's just such a usable lens throughout its range, and that 24 to 120 millimeter focal length is money. It's just the lens that you can knock around with and capture almost anything. You know, when I wonder what to take, I say, if you got a 24 to 120, it'll probably do you. So that's just a great lens. It's, you know, about $1,000 or $1,100. So on the affordability factor, I just think it's much more versatile than a 24 to 70. And it's not that big, it's not that heavy, and it's not that expensive. It's a lens that you should check out if you haven't already. It's fantastic. Acratech's heads and nodal rails. I love the Acratech nodal rail. The fact that it's adjustable. You know, I worked with them to produce this nodal rail to make it smaller, to make it lighter, to make it lower profile than any other adjustable nodal rail in the market, and to have this magnificent locking lever clamp with the big visible bubble level on it. And you can, with an Allen wrench, just loosen this and slide it fore or aft, rotate the lever clamp on it if you want to, It's beautiful. I've got this in my store. It's not cheap, but for people using a pan and tilt head system where you want to put your camera on there with its L bracket and get balanced sliding back off the head a little bit, whether it's a fluid head or a panorama head. For those who love to shoot panoramas and want to, you know, not be having problems with parallax, I just center the lens up over the axis of rotation using this, and it's just a magnificent nodal rail. The more I use it, the more I love it. Those are in my store. And I've started carrying Acratech's range of heads that I love the most in my store too. So I have the panorama head listed in the store, the GXP SS head, which is, I think, the most amazing ultralight ball head on the planet. I don't love ball heads in general, but that one's pretty special. It has a gimbal mode. It has a level panning mode. It weighs 0.8 pounds, holds 25 pounds. It's completely user serviceable. You can just rinse it out in the sink and the entire ball can be rinsed. The design is amazing. It's nuanced, it's wonderful. As is my favorite Acratech head, which is the panorama head. You know, and there are imitators out there, but nothing's like the panorama head. I love it with the locking lever clamp. And the fact that one side has a really nuanced tilt control, you know, how much resistance is there on the tilt. The other side is simply a lock. Boom. You unlock, you can tilt, lock. And how hard it is to tilt based on how heavy your system, just a little twist of that rubber-coated tension adjustment knob. Nobody else comes anywhere close to this head as a lightweight, non-fluid pan and tilt head. I love it. And I also carry the Ultimate head, which is just made for people who do Milky Way photography. If you wonder why, just click this video. It's astounding for the way it works on a star tracker. It's just designed to be at that angle and still give you a wide range of motion. It's an incredible head. I carry that one with just a knob clamp, since it's not something you're using all the time. It saves a little bit of money that way. I'm gonna weave this in. I sort of forgot about it because it was a little too big to throw up on the table, but this is the extra large NYA EVO removable camera insert. And this one, you have to zip the removable liner, the divider, out of the 60C, the bigger backpack, in order to fit this in. You don't have to deploy the built-in upper dry bag, but the way it works, this is for those big lens junkies. This is how I carry my 400 TC with the Z9 attached, either in the field or onto a plane, is my NYA EVO 60C backpack with that run right down through here. It fits with the hood inverted and the Z9 mounted and goes right to the top of this, and then you can unzip the top of the 60C and get access and pull it right out the top. I got a whole video about that when I was packing for Costa Rica, or Charleston, one of the two. I'll put that video right here. You can click and see how I packed it, and then you got room for all your other stuff. It completely fills the 60C with the exception of the dry bag up top, which can fold down, and it's still airline compliant. So this is a great way to carry a big lens in the field, and I have these in stock now too in my store. The Z52, for people on your list, it may not be for you. It might be for a young aspiring photographer or someone you know who's excited about photography but is on a little bit of a budget, or somebody who's just getting back into photography after a long while and wants to dabble in the mirrorless system. I think that the Z52, with its advanced X-Speed 7 autofocus capabilities and the image stabilized lenses that come in the kit with it, the 16-50 and the 50-250 lenses, the ones that I have in this little box right here that I showcased earlier in this video, it's an amazing deal. I know mine is shipping today and I'm really excited about it. There are wonderful aftermarket DX lenses out there for it, as well as some Nikon DX lenses that are great. They're far more affordable. You know, the camera is what, $910, $907, and the kit with the 50-250 and the 16-50 is $1,300. And when you think about that, that's the equivalent of 24 to 375 millimeters with really, really nice image quality and image stabilization built into the lenses. I mean, the fact that this thing has bird eye detect, that it has pre-roll capture for a second of 30 frame per second images before you actually depress the shutter all the way, all those kinds of amazing features, the manual focus eye detect from the ZF and the Z6 III. I mean, they really have kind of pulled out a lot in this camera. I've also heard that it does hybrid handoff autofocusing. I will report on that shortly when I get mine and do a full review and setup guide, but that you can flip from wide area to 3D with a custom button press. I mean, that was relegated to the much higher end cameras until now. So really, really cool stuff. I think that camera is a bargain for people that are shopping for a really capable entry into the mirrorless world at a good price. All right, so after that, I'm going to talk about the EcoTank Epson printers. And just quickly on the printing, you know, I did a video about this printer. You can click right here. It's a wonderful, wonderful printer for those just wanting to kind of get started with printing, or people with a family that want to easily print high quality cell phone pictures. And, you know, like my wife and kids use that printer constantly. And I know lots of photographers who've been having fun with the 8500, that's the letter size, or the 8550, that'll do up to 13 by 19 inch. If you're a more advanced printer, one thing I would recommend for you, if you've got an Epson SureColor printer and you're, you know, P900, P700, a big format printer like the 9900 I have back here under the cover, if you're really into printing, we've been experimenting with a lot of papers in these printing workshops, and I have come to the conclusion that Epson has just got it locked down with their legacy papers. And I like the Platine for sort of a semi-gloss, sort of a bridal look, you know, deep blacks, bright colors, a little bit of a sheen, but not glossy. And for that kind of full-on fine art, amazing feel and depth, the legacy fiber is just amazing. So I'm putting links to those papers. And then finally, I'll wrap this up with a couple things that I've just been blown away by this year. And if you're interested in getting them, now might really be the time. We won't go into any of the reasons for that, but you can probably guess. They're DJI products, and they're DJI's latest 1-inch sensor products. And what they're doing in both stills and video with 1-inch sensors in the Osmo Pocket 3 4K handheld video camera, which has this little screen. When you flip open, it comes up. It's gimbaled, handheld, steady. If you watch my video on Scotland that I did recently, was basically all the video portions were shot with the Osmo. If they weren't, they were shot with the Air 3 drone. This thing's 1-inch sensor produces such great dynamic range, image quality, high ISO quality, night footage, and it also will do time-lapse photography, and it'll store all the raw image files alongside the time-lapse video that it creates. And it does internal 4K log, DJI log, D-log video, so that you can get more dynamic range. It's almost like a raw video capability. If you're at all interested in getting into video for a handheld wide-angle video, if you're interested in vlogging at all, this thing is just mind-bendingly high quality and good. I'm blown away by this. The quality is so much better than what GoPro's video puts out. Now, it's not made to strap on a mountain bike or a kiteboard and take underwater and bashing through storms and things. It's not weather sealed. It's a little bit more fragile. Although I've been beating it around and had it out in the rain and had dropped it a couple times and it still rocks. I've never had a hiccup with it. So the DJI Osmo Pocket 3, it's a mouthful, is just incredible. That's the latest one that they put out. It's got this little case so you can slip it in your pocket without it getting damaged. It's amazing. When you turn it on, it opens itself up, steadies, and then when you flip the little screen shut, it'll protect its own lens, and then it can go back in its little protective case. And I keep that in this little NYA EVO Pocket that can mount on the side of my backpack, or I can wear it with a shoulder strap. And one accessory I have for it that I love, I use this little Leo Photo tabletop tripod that I'll put a link to, with this little accessory that has a USB-C in port. It has GoPro mounting hardware coming off the bottom of it. It has Arca Swiss mount, so you can drop it in your tripod, or it has a 1/4-20 threaded port to mount on a little tripod. And the Osmo literally can just set in here and click, boom. It's in place and it's ready to shoot a time lapse or do selfie stuff. And this little tripod can get taller too. It flips out and it has multi-leg angles. Leo Photo's just killing it with their tripods. So Best tabletop tripod I've seen yet. And that little accessory for the Osmo is incredible. The other thing about this is I find the battery lasts a really, really long time. It's got a built-in rechargeable battery, and it recharges in like 10 minutes to about 80%. So with USB-C power delivery, it's quite incredible. All right, so then the other new 1-inch censored DJI product is the Air 3S. And I ordered it the minute it came out. I know several other people who did. They're getting a little hard to get right now. There's high demand, but this is a prosumer grade drone. It's not the Mavic, the big pro grade drone. It's the more consumer grade, prosumer grade, I should say. And it has a 1-inch sensor, 24mm equivalent main camera. And it'll do user-defined panoramas. It has LiDAR obstacle avoidance, 360-degree obstacle avoidance, and it's apparently amazing in low light. I've flown it a little bit just around the house. It just came and was blown away with the main camera's image quality, just the sharpness, the color rendition. And stills are going to be one step better with this camera. It's an improvement over the original Air 3 in that it has this 1-inch sensor on the main camera and a more advanced obstacle avoidance and better low light capability. It has a long lens too, a 70mm equivalent. It's very easy to fly. I'll be doing training tutorials on this drone. If not by the end of the year, early in next year. I've just been loving it. And I've even set up modes in it where it's so slow and so slow moving. I let my kids, my 7 and 8-year-old kids, fly it around the yard, and it's just barely moving. There's ways to set it up so that it's easy to learn how to fly. And it's a joy to fly, to take stills and video with. Right now, it's a little tricky to get a hold of. I'm going to put a link to B&H, but if you find yourself on back order too long and it looks like it's going to be harder or more expensive to get, I would order it direct from DJI. They'll send it direct from Hong Kong. It comes very, very quickly. B&H is backed up. Amazon isn't even listing it right now because it's backed up. This is a tough thing to get, and it is incredible. I don't think there'll be a drone from another manufacturer for years that comes close for capturing video and capturing stills and having the flight dynamics, runtime. It's got a 46-minute battery. It goes 60 miles an hour in its sport mode. Big, beautiful screen on the controller. Make sure you get the RC2 controller. I really think the Fly More package with this is important. And so these two products, the Osmo Pocket 3 is $520. It's a little more if you buy the Creator Kit, which has a wireless microphone and a battery. I wouldn't do that. There's so many accessories out there. Unless you're a vlogger and you really want that audio, then it probably makes sense to pay more money. But it's $520 for just the Osmo, and then I think this was less than $30 for this little accessory, and I'll link the tabletop tripod too. The Air 3S, you can get cheaper, but the Fly More combo with 3 batteries and neutral density filters really does make sense. The triple battery charger, that whole thing, all comes in a nice case, and it's $1,600. I think it's a bargain for what it is. Just an incredible, incredible drone. Well, all right, guys, that wraps up the holiday gift guide for this year. We're going to be doing an office hours on December 17th. I believe it's a Tuesday, 10 a.m. Pacific. We're going to talk a little bit about culling your images down to which are your absolute best, working towards developing that smaller portfolio that showcases your talent as a photographer, and also learning to ascertain what your best work is. And we're going to take an open Q&A, general questions about photography, big free photography get-together meetup, YouTube and Zoom. You can be live with us on Zoom. It'll be archived on YouTube, so you can watch it if you can't make it. But sign up for that at hudsonhenry.com/office hours, or click right here. And you can leave a question when you sign up. All right, everybody, I hope that you're all enjoying this hustly bustly holiday season. If you're in the US, I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving filled with family, friends, and food. I know that we're planning on it. So, all right, everyone, thanks so much. We'll see you next week.